Well, good day and welcome back to the channel. You know, one of my favorite American brands of typewriters are Smith Corona, and I really love the overall quality and feature set that especially the mid-century 5 and 6 series machines had by Smith Corona. But there's one nagging problem that kind of stands out in my mind. That is, they never really had a positive carriage lock. So, in other words, Smith Corona typewriters have a carriage centering feature with a little lever you push, and it enables you to center the carriage. But you can still bump the machine and the carriage will decenter itself, so it's not a positive lock. So in contrast to Smith Corona and a lot of other American brands, there were a lot of foreign-made brands that had positive carriage locks, even on their small, lightweight, portable typewriters. For instance, on your left is a Royal Mercury, made by Silver Seiko in Japan in the early 1970s, and its carriage lock is on the line spacing selector above the single line position. There's a red dot. That's the carriage lock. If you take it off of the red dot, you can move the carriage. If you put it back to the red dot and move it back to the center, like that, and now it's positively locked. Similarly, with this West German-made Olympia Splendid 33, its carriage lock lever is right here behind the left paper bail bracket, and you push it toward the back, it'll unlock the carriage, and if you pull it toward the front and center it, it locks it positively, even where if you try to move the carriage with the carriage release, it still stays locked. So there were a lot of brands that had a positive carriage lock, but those great Smith Coronas, most of them didn't. This is the one nagging problem I have with them. But it was brought to my attention recently through a viewer, one of you guys, that there is a way to lock the carriage positively on one of these Smith Coronas. So let's check it out. So this is a Smith Corona Silent Super from 1957, and it has the classic carriage centering lever. The way this feature works, you want to pull the carriage slightly to the right, grasp the right carriage knob, and then push that lever up and let the carriage move until it stops. It will be centered. However, it's not truly locked because it can take a blow. For instance, if the carriage is pushed from the left, it will decenter itself. It's not really truly locked. However, if you go ahead and do the centering again, like this, and then you take the left margin control, press it down and push it all the way to the right until it stops. Now you have a true carriage lock for the Smith Corona 5 series. But does this also affect older and more recent models besides the 5 series? Let's find out. Well, let's try it on this 1936 Corona Standard. And yes, if you have a Corona Standard, you have to get a candelabra, of course. So it does have a carriage centering feature. Pull the carriage to the right. It's this little bracket below the knob behind the front carriage bearing race. You grasp the knob, push that lever back, let the carriage move to the left until it stops. That's the carriage centering feature. But again, it is not a secure lock. The carriage can still move if it's bumped. So again, we move it to the left. Now we're going to flip down this panel and we're going to move the left margin control all the way to the right. And now we have a secure, for certain, carriage lock. There's no movement at all. This ensures the escapement is protected when we are moving the typewriter. But I have an even older Corona typewriter we need to check this on. Well, this is the lovely Corona 3. This one is from 1930. Let's check out and see if it has a way to positively lock the carriage. Well, it does have a carriage centering feature. So underneath the right platen knob is this bracket right here. It's behind the front scale. And if you grasp the knob, push this to the back, it will stop right there. However, let's turn the machine around so we can see the margin controls. And now I'm going to push and slide the left margin control all the way far right as I can toward the center of the machine, and that is as far as I can take the left margin control, and the carriage will still move. So it does not move far enough to truly lock the carriage. However, the amount of motion you're getting here is very minor. It might still provide you with some protection, but I'm not totally convinced that it'll protect it enough to keep a tooth of the escapement wheel from breaking if you had a hard jar to the machine. So with the Corona 3, you can't truly lock the carriage with the left margin, but you can get close. So beyond the 5 series, there is the Smith Corona 6 series, and this one is a 1973 Galaxy 12, a beautiful blue machine. Let's check it out. And yes, the 6 series does have a carriage centering feature. If I pull the carriage to the right, it is this lever right here just inboard of the right platen knob in front of the cover that pops open. And again, you grab the right platen knob, lift the lever up, move the carriage until it stops, and it's now centered. But there is also a way to positively lock the carriage on the Galaxy 12 and other 6 series with the left margin control moved all the way over to the right as far as it'll go. Make sure it does pop into the last detent slot, and it will positively lock the carriage, protecting it against sudden jarring movements, protecting the escapement mechanism especially. One of the side benefits of having the left margin capable of moving all the way over to the midway part of the carriage is not only can you set the margins for a full sheet of paper, but you can also set the margins, for instance, to type on just the right hand of the sheet of paper, meaning that you can do 2-column composition. So here is the left side. I can set left and right margins for the left side and left and right margins for the right side or right half of the paper. So I can do 2-column composition on this standard 9-inch carriage machine. But of course, if you want to do 2-column composition, it would probably be better to have a wider carriage like this 12-inch carriage on the Galaxy 12, where then you have room to take a US letter size sheet of paper and turn it sideways, and then now you can do your left column and you can do your right column for 2-column composition. This is one of the other side benefits of these Smith Coronas that enable you to move the margin all the way to the midway point or even further. Well, what turned out to be a perceived disadvantage with these Smith Coronas ended up being actually an advantage, because in order to be able to do this left margin centering locking technique, the left margin has to be able to move at least all the way to the midway point of the carriage travel, which also gives it the ability to do 2-column printing if you're into zines and newsletters and things like that, creating that kind of stuff on your typewriters. That's a great advantage. So, well, I'm really thankful that I found out about this little tip, and it seems to apply to at least the mid-1930s Corona standards and forward in the Smith Corona line. I don't know about the Corona 4. I don't currently have a Corona 4 in my collection, but if you guys do have one, I'd love you to try it out. I know it has the carriage centering bracket underneath the right knob, so try that and see if it'll positively lock the carriage against movement. But that's a great tip. If you have a Smith Corona of any of these from the 30s up to the 70s, this will help maybe potentially save your escapement mechanism from damage if the typewriter gets jarred in any way. So I want to thank the viewer who dropped me a comment telling me how he locks the carriage on his Smith Coronas. That was a really cool tip. And if you have any other tips out there about typewriters that I haven't mentioned, drop a note in the comments down below. I'd love to have a discussion with you about typewriter features and things people discover, how to use them, because I'm always about trying to discover new techniques, new things to do with typewriters, little hidden gems that maybe people in the past knew about and we've forgotten about and then we rediscover. I think that's a lot of fun. But what's really a lot of fun is if you would get your typewriter out, sit it down, and start writing with it. And until next time, stay creative and have yourselves a great day, and bye-bye for now.